The anxiety around getting a mortgage often comes in when you feel you either won't qualify, you're not able to, you don't know how. Diamond Trust Bank is saying all those questions that linger in your head and which seem not to have a ready answer, we will help you find a way forward. One, and I want you to check as I go along. There are no hidden charges, number one. There are no penalties if you pay ahead of the schedule that you were actually supposed to pay within. You will pay for a 10-year mortgage 9% constantly throughout those years. If it's a 25-year mortgage, you'll pay 9.75. Keep checking.
Check.
If you happen to be in the diaspora, check. You will be able to also get a loan. If you are employed and you have a pay slip, or if you're self-employed, you will still get a mortgage. You are able to. 105, that's the figure. And that's the percentage of what you'll get as a loan.
Amazing.
People talk of 100, 105.
105%.
Yes, if you are paid. If you are in paid employment. Diaspora, 80% of whatever it is that you wish to purchase. Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company is an umbrella body that makes it possible for lenders like Diamond Trust Bank to partner with so that you can get the best possible rates at the most convenient way to suit your needs.
Beautiful.
Now, that's Diamond Trust Bank. If you have a problem with any of this and you seek clarity beyond what I have just said, two things. Either go and visit any Diamond Trust Bank branch or send an email. Email is mortgages@dtbafrica.com.
Lovely stuff. And also, we talked about when you have a medical emergency, sometimes you're in a tailspin, right? You're not quite sure what to do. Where do I get the money from? Do I take a loan? Do we have Harambe? Do we say, okay, let's just cross our fingers and knock on wood and pray the person will get better? No, you don't do that. Hopefully, you would have taken some health insurance. But let me tell you some things about the J-Care medical cover with Jubilee Health Insurance. It's best for families and individuals. It's the most comprehensive cover. You have an average of about 95,000 shillings per year in benefits. Inpatient cover, check, at 500,000 to 10 million shillings. Outpatient cover from 50,000 to 200,000. Covers pre-existing and chronic conditions, includes dental, optical, maternity programs. And there's free telemedicine consultations. It's the J Junior Medical Cover for children aged between 0 and 17. Also, when you have premiums of 35,000 shillings per year, inpatient cover from 500,000 to 10 million, outpatient limits from 50,000 to 200,000. It covers immunizations. That's a big thing. It covers pediatric checkups, annual medical checkup, as well as telemedicine. Telemedicine is the one where, you call the doctor, they say, okay, what are your symptoms? Let's see if we can fix you. So now imagine all of this you can actually do with the Lipa Pole Pole, and you don't need to pay a lump sum out up front, right? So Jubilee Health Insurance has a wide network of over 800 outlets in the country, plus options for international treatment and overseas referrals. What do you need to do? You must send an SMS HEALTH to 40643, or you can call 0709 949 000. Visit www.jubileeinsurance.com. There are ways to go about this. There are ways to do it. Let's go. All right, and here we are this morning getting into our conversation for this hour. Mheshimiwa Owen Baya is here. Good to see you. It's been a while since you've been here, and notwithstanding, there are very many issues that require attention and a lot of stuff to be looked into. The Member of Parliament for Kilifi North is here with us, so we'll be looking at majority-minority issues. What's going to call the day. So, Mheshimiwa, good to have you here, and let's say Happy New Year. We were told that you could only say Happy New Year until the 14th of February, but for you, we'll say it anyway.
Happy New Year to you guys.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
You've been well?
Very well. I thank God for good health and everything.
Indeed.
Yes.
Karibu.
Asante.
And we'll welcome you properly with today's proverb. Siti is going to share that with you, and then you can tell us how you would interpret that today.
Yes. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Mheshimiwa, karibu sana.
Asante Siti.
Habari za Kilifi?
Mzuri. Kilifi ni kuzuri kabisa.
Watu hawajambo lakini.
Hawana neno.
Asante.
Yes.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the Republic of Niger. Okay? The lion will not give birth to a goat.
The lion will not give birth to a goat.
Yes.
I think that's an apt proverb. that whatever it is must be what it is from the original. That a lion begets a lion, just like fire begets fire. So you do not expect anything different from the original, just like a fruit will not fall far away from the tree.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's a lovely tie.
Thank you.
I must say. Okay, so getting into this conversation this morning, Mweshimiwa, is that a couple of weeks ago, let's go back a year ago.
Yeah.
No, actually, we're in 2025, so two and a half years ago, after the election was held, and there were talks about who held the majority in Parliament, and we saw that there were some significant moves from certain parties, and they now collapsed themselves, and then we heard that Kenya Kwanza was now the majority in Parliament. And then after that, there was a majority leader that was selected. There were leaders of the minority in both houses, and that moved. And decisions were made in Parliament. House business continued. Different heads of committees were selected. And based on that, legislation, representation, and oversight continued for the next 2.5 years.
Yeah.
We do know that in that time, a petition was taken to court. And they said, no, come on, we need to look at these numbers properly. Was the Speaker of the House, in his capacity, then allowed to make the pronouncements that he did about who held the majority? 2.5 years down the line, the court has made its pronouncements just 2 weeks ago, and they said, number one, the Speaker of the National Assembly at that time, in his capacity, held dual roles, and we cannot allow that to happen, number one. Check. Number two, we also see that the pronouncements that he made over who held the majority in Parliament then could not be the case. And as a result of that, at the time, we see that the Azimio coalition was in the majority.
Yes.
Present day, 18th of February, Parliament has come back from recess. But some individuals have refused to vacate their seats according to what the courts have said. They have been touting about who should sit in the positions of majority, speaker, as well as, leaders on both sides.
Yes.
Where are we today, and why is it taking so long to do what the court has said?
Thank you very much. Also the Deputy Majority Leader.
Yes, you are.
And, of course, I have interest. I want to declare my interest at ab initio on this matter.
Yes.
The role of declaring who is majority or who is not majority in Parliament is the role of the Speaker.
Yes.
The Constitution and the Standing Order allows the Speaker to determine who is majority and who is minority. But the Speaker is also informed by certain organizations or certain institutes that are created by the law. And one of the institutions that is created by law is the PPR, the political parties, or the registrar of the political parties. She actually is the person that furnishes with the Speaker with the information on who belongs to which party. In this case, especially when you have a coalition or coalitions and coalition political parties, then the registrar is the one who knows which parties are in which coalition. And therefore, at that particular time, the registrar furnishes the Speaker with the information, and therefore the determination of who is majority and who is not majority is based on what the Registrar of Political Parties has provided, and also what IBC has provided, because the Registrar of Political Parties will get information from IBC that these are the duly elected members of Parliament through a Gazette notice. And when the Registrar of Political Parties receives that, then he will also, or she will also look at it and say, so these members belong to which party, and therefore furnish the Speaker with the relevant information. Therefore, looking at all that information and based on the standing order, the Speaker therefore has capacity to declare, to say that this is majority and this is not majority. Now, at the collapse of at the end of the elections in 2022, such was the process, and the Speaker received that information that this is Azimio coalition, this is the Kenya Kwanza coalition, these are independent members of Parliament, and also these are parties that are not affiliated to any coalition but have members that have been elected to Parliament. Based on that information, then the Speaker makes the determination. Now, At that particular time, the information that was received by the speaker was that Kenya Kwanza was the majority. Now, there was contestation on where three parties, I think, PA, the Kingi party, PA. There's contestation on Mandeleo Chap Chap.
Yes.
And I think there was contestation on, I don't know, the DP or, but another party on where did it belong.
Could that be the MDG?
The MDG.
Yeah.
The MDG has only one member.
Yeah.
And where they belong. Because initially, I think they had signed a coalition agreement with Azimio at that particular time. And as we were approaching the elections, I think they decamped from Azimio and joined Kenya Kwanza.
Yes.
And you actually saw that the Honorable Kingi campaigned with the president. The Honorable Alfred Mutua campaigned with the president at that particular time, showing that they had actually switched the allegiance. So when it comes to the issue of sovereignty, did the sovereign will of the people elect members that belonged to Kenya Kwanza, to Mandeleo Chap Chap and PA? Did they elect them because they wanted them to be in Azimio, or did they elect them because they wanted them in Kenya Kwanza? Because that is
Or
where
did they elect them because they just wanted them to actually represent the will of the people at that level, at that constituency level?
Well, correct. You see, every time an election has happened, the sovereign will of the people determines where you belong. And you see, election is a very dynamic thing. They will put the picture of probably, if I'm in a PA, for example, I will put the picture of Raila Odinga on my poster and my party leader and my picture on it and say, this is where I belong. And therefore, when I'm elected at that particular time, when the sovereign is cast at that particular time, is cast on the basis of where you belong in terms of your political coalition. So the sovereign will in this country is actually determined by such. And therefore, the will goes this side or that side, depending on where you have said you belong. And at that particular time, when we were actually going for election, Kenya Kwanza affiliation included PA, MDG, and the Alfred Mutua party, Mandeleo Chap Chap. And therefore, the speaker made the determination based on the coalition agreements deposited and those that had withdrawn at that particular time.
Is it possible for us to separate what the people of Kenya actually want
Yes.
from what individuals who are joining parties at that particular time wanted? Because I think those are two significantly different things, and that we often want to marry them, whereby they have nothing to do with one another. I think we've established that when there are political moves, very rarely do they take into consideration the will of the people at that point in time. Who people are affiliated with is something very different. And that's why we saw the moves that we did. Who people are affiliated with and not what the people necessarily want. Because people want food, people want water, people want roads, people want schools, people want hospitals. At that point, they don't really bother whom you're affiliated with.
Very well put, and I like that. You see, how is the sovereign will of the people determined in this country? The sovereign will of the people is determined in this country by certain factors, and one of them is political parties. It determines the political will. Which party has the best manifesto? Which party is saying what? And sometimes it's the allegiance of the people to a particular party. There are places, for example, if you look at the elections in the United States, there are certain areas where presidential candidates will never even go. They will not go to places like Maine. They will not go to Arkansas. They will not go to Mississippi. They will not go there because they know the sovereign will of these people belongs to the Republican Party. There are other areas, the I think the northern part of the United States where the sovereign will is already determined. They will never vote Republicans, they will vote Democrats. And that is how sovereign will is separated from this party to this party. In this country also, it is also almost on the same. You know that where Raila Odinga belongs, there are certain regions that they will vote, whether he came to campaign, whether they know him, they have seen him, they have not seen him. The sovereign will of the people will be determined on that aspect. And therefore, what politicians say and what they do, and that is why there are campaigns, and that's why we go out there to campaign, to try to tilt the wheel or to tweak the wheel to move either this side or that side, depending on what is agreeable with the people. And therefore, when it comes to political parties, and it comes to coalitions, most of the time, you realize that they try to sway the sovereign will to a certain area. Therefore, when members of parliament are elected, they're elected, the sovereign, I want to call them the sovereign, the people elect, or the sovereign elected people based on their manifesto, based on their affiliation to the political parties. And therefore, at that particular time, the Speaker was right to declare that Kenya Kwanza was the majority because the numbers showed. And I still ask the same question today. Even when Azimio says that, we are a majority, I ask them, where are your numbers? Because it's a question of numbers. The numbers as elected in the National Assembly, where are their numbers?
Okay, tell me what your interpretation of what the court said then the other day in terms of at that time with the numbers that were shared. Because the court's determination was that Azimio was actually in the majority at the time. Where do you think they got that from?
No, the court erred.
Oh, the court erred. Okay.
And that is why there's an appeal that has been lodged. Yes. Because the High Court erred on determination of
the three-judge bench made a mistake.
Yes, they erred. And I can say that without fear of contradiction.
Would you share details?
And that is why we have an appeal. We are challenging their facts.
Which facts are you challenging?
Because the question is, when you want to determine who is majority, who is minority, the word majority connotes numbers. The word minority connotes numbers. Yeah. So who has the numbers? Those numbers are determined by certain facts. And if you look at the facts on the table, you will see that at that particular time, Kenya Kwanza had the numbers. Azimio did not have the numbers. And even today, the determination that was made by the Speaker 2 weeks ago is based on numbers. The question is, when we go to court, yes, you can look at all these other things. But if we are four of us here,
yes,
if we are four of us here, and you want to, if we put a vote on something, and you see City and yourself vote in a certain way, and they vote in a certain way, the numbers are clear, very clear. These are 3 against 1. Yes, all right. And there's no tie. And therefore, when the court rules that, the question that we must ask the court is, how did they arrive at the numbers? Well, because if the court made a pronunciation, a pronouncement, what I wanted to see is the court said, Azimio is this number. Kenya Kwanza is this number.
The other thing that the court
said... And therefore, based on that, then Azimio is the majority.
The other thing that the court said, Mheshimiwa, and repeated it,
yes,
is that the Speaker did not provide evidence to support the decision that he made. That is what they said. They understood what was said, they said, but there was no evidence provided to support that decision because according to the Political Parties Act, all these coalitions have to be registered with the registrar of political parties 120 days before a general election.
Yes.
Now the question is, if you wish to withdraw from the coalition, what does the Political Parties Act say? And if indeed the parties that you say were in Azimio but decamped, is there evidence that they decamped? Because if there's a process of joining and registering, there must be a process of deregistering. Did they follow these processes?
And this is the thing that we're talking about. If I can just link an issue, because we saw, and this is the thing, the court did not err in terms of their pronouncement, because their pronouncement was very clear that the process is what was flawed. And we have seen, not just in Kenya, but around the world, where an entire election has been nullified because the process, the channel that was used is what was unconstitutional. And by virtue of that being flawed, the entire process and your pronouncements then become illegal. Now, if I can just read very clearly what was stated by court. By assigning the 14 MPs from MDG, UDM, PAR, CCM and MCCP to Kenya Kwanza Alliance without evidence of post-election agreements or justification and declaring Kenya Kwanza Alliance as majority, the Speaker acted arbitrarily and violated Article 101 of the Constitution. It was not a matter of numbers.
Yes.
It was a matter of process.
No, and just allow me to also, because I want to bring this in, when Speaker Wetangula brought in his ruling on this matter, he actually said the court decision on House proceedings, in his perspective, according to the Speaker, he cited post-election agreements that were filed with the Register of Political Parties as a key factor in determining the majority state, according to his perspective, post-election agreements.
No. You see, the court is very clear about numbers. I think I like that because the court comes back to the 14.
Yes.
Okay.
From the five parties?
Because it is the 14 that from the 5 parties that was to determine which is majority, what is minority.
Yes.
The 5 parties themselves declared themselves or through letters to the registrar of political parties that they had withdrawn from Azimio. And they did that even before the elections, and post-election they declared that they were in Azimio. And I think one of the parties is UDM, the one that is led by Ali Roba. And therefore, at that particular time, the speaker, the information that the speaker had at that particular time, and which we must never run away, that it is the role of the speaker to declare who is majority, who is minority, not the courts. And therefore, the speaker at that particular time, furnished with the information that he had and armed with the information that he had, declared that Kenya Kwanza.
Did he present the information in the assembly while he was making the pronouncement that he had the information with him? To be fair, because this is what the court said, that at the time of that announcement, that he did not present those documents, which is required by Article 101 of the Constitution.
You see, the speaker makes rulings in Parliament, and it's one of his duties in Parliament to make rulings, and Parliament is a quasi-judicial institution, and armed and based on evidence that he had at that particular time. And I wish also the court had made available the ruling by the speaker, because if I can remember, it was one of the longest rulings that had all the information. And also, it should be understood that Parliament has no deficit of very good legal minds.
We'll come to that.
Yes, very, very good legal minds that both from the chamber and also the staff. And based on the information that he had and based on the evidence that he gave in his ruling, a very detailed ruling, at that particular time, Speaker Wetangula was right to declare Kenya Kwanza the majority.
Which particular time? You keep talking about this particular time. For the sake of the listener and the viewer, we had that particular time, and then we had his most recent ruling just the other day. So which particular time?
Because immediately after elections.
All right.
Immediately. When I say at that particular time.
How about the recent one after the court's declaration, where he actually insisted and actually declared that the status quo remains unchanged, KK 165 members, Azimio 154 numbers. That is the current numbers according to the speaker now.
In fact, the current ruling was not even, I couldn't even call that really a ruling.
All right.
Because what he did, the speaker communicated the information as provided to him by the registrar of political parties, which is in public domain. I think the registrar of political parties wrote a letter which is in public domain, which states which parties belong to which coalition. And in fact, interestingly, if you look at the letter that was provided by the registrar of political parties, the recent one, it says that the parties of UDM, I think PA, Mandeleo, Chap, are not affiliated as of now. I think they withdrew their affiliation. They are not affiliated to any political parties. And therefore, the 14, which was the board of contention, is not even part of the 165 that Kenya Kwanza has.
Right.
If you added the 14, Kenya Kwanza will move to 117 something. So therefore, at this particular time, Kenya Kwanza is majority based on the very original.
That is the status quo that he's referring to.
Yes, that is the status quo that he's referring to. And therefore, at this particular time, in fact, Kenya Kwanza is very strongly in the majority without question.
Okay, we keep running away from the issue of process, but we're going to come back and we're going to bite into that just a little bit more. The MP for Kilifi North constituency is our guest this hour, Honourable Owen Meyer, and we're having that conversation about the majority and the minority, who actually does hold the mantle. It's a numbers game, but also looking at other numbers games that are played out in Kenya today. 1 million people into the job market every year. A high number of those don't have the skills that they require to connect them with opportunities, with jobs, getting into business. So KCB Foundation, through the 2G Ajiri program, has said, you know what, 155,000 people so far have been trained and they've been put into the job market. We can do it for more. 267 million shillings is the amount of grants and loans that have been given out to people who finish this course and then have been able to get to start their own business with the toolkits that they require. You can too. Youth between the age of 18 and 35 can get in touch with KCB KCB group /foundation and find out how you can get to be part of the Tujejiri program and join up those numbers and connect skills with opportunity. Good morning. It's 28 minutes to 8.
Dental tips brought to you by Sensodyne. The 2-minute rule. Brush smarter, not faster. Dentists recommend brushing for 2 minutes twice a day. Pair that with Sensodyne Toothpaste Advanced Daily Care.
Sensodyne gives you long-lasting protection against sensitivity. I recommend Sensodyne because it works. It's brilliant.
Hi, and welcome to Shop.Digga, where we bring you the best deals in fashion, tech, think gadgets and gizmos, think kitchen appliances, think your Christmas movie, all in one stop. All you have to do is scan the QR code and shop till you drop. Remember, Standard Courier brings you all these goods that you buy at the convenience of your doorstep. We bring you the best deals and beatable deals this side of the Sahara. We are on TV every Saturday from 6:30 p.m. EU on Shop.Digga.
Find it real quick. Send it to the click. Wow, the place is sick.
Zach only wants your friendship. Is that it, Joanna?
Zach is the one confused, Asher. It is possible that he feels something stronger for me, but I don't feel the
You
same.
told everyone that he died? You cannot tell anyone that Asher is alive. Why did you lie, Zach? I think Asher is dead.
He's dead, Mistress Ilana.
You wish to get permission to court Joanna?
But I believe Joanna has not yet recovered from the death of Asher.
Yes, and besides, it's too soon for her to give her attention to another man.
What a shame that I have to go. You don't know how my heart rejoices when I'm in your lovely presence.
I simply wish to know how you are, my friend.
I'm fine.
You cannot get married to that woman.
And who are you to tell me what I can and cannot do?
What are you hiding from me? You're putting on an act to hide the truth from me. Tell me, Akash. Why are you all lying? Where's Arjun? He isn't here. I know that Arjun hasn't been here at the house.
Mom, you were right. I found out why Akash refused to get married to me. It is all because he was never really serious about me in the first place.
What?
I found out that there is another girl in Akash's life other than me.
I am sorry, Gia. I have to pretend to be Arjun or else... I'm really sorry.
Just answer my question, Krishna. Why did you say that you would take the blame instead?
That's very heavy as you get towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. And on the Eastern Bypass, traffic is also starting to build up as you get towards North Airport Road. Some traffic coming off of Outer Ring as well this morning. Limuru Road is busy. And we're looking at that interchange between the Northern Bypass and then coming in towards Ridgeways out through Kiambu Road. Busy as well. We're in traffic hour, folks. Let's try to keep things moving this morning. We'll talk to one another. Spice FM, KE on X. Hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At 23 minutes to 8 o'clock, the Member of Parliament for Kilifi North is here with us, the Honourable Owen Bayer. Looking at the issue of process, and I think that's one thing that we have to be very careful about, because I believe it is on that the court was hinged, to say that there is a process that is prescribed for certain things to happen. And this process did not take place, and it is upon that we will nullify 1, 2, 3. But we seem to be running away from that because we don't want to accept that process was not followed. That in terms of documentation that was required to be given at the time of a particular ruling, Mheshimiwa, it didn't happen by the Speaker. And so that is what is being brought into contention. Why do we not want to pay attention to that?
I want to say this for the record. One, that the process of declaring who is majority, who is minority in Parliament or in the National Assembly is very clear. And I think it's the easiest thing to do. Because IBC declares elected members and gazettes them. And they gazette them each per party. The registrar of political parties receives that information. At the request of the Speaker, the registrar of the political parties will be very clear to say that these are the members that have been elected on these particular parties. But because we have coalition agreements, we will therefore want to determine which party is in what coalition. On the basis of that already, the registrar therefore writes to the Speaker to say that these are the members that have been elected on these parties and on these coalitions and on these, there's something called political party coalition. Okay. On the basis of that, the Speaker comes back and says, okay, I want to see the he can also say, I want to see the post-election, the pre-election agreements. And when he looks at those agreements, then he'll be able to say, okay, based on the information that I have looked at myself, based on the information that I have been given by the registrar of political parties, then my determination is as follows. But also, I think this is also very, very clear. It does not require, it is also not mandatory that the Speaker must write to the registrar of political parties. Because when members come to Parliament, you already know who belongs to which party. On the party only. He will only write to the registrar of political party when he's looking at the issue of coalitions. Which members belong to which coalition. But on the basis of election of members on their own political parties, the information from the IEBC is enough. For example, is UDA majority as a party in Parliament? Yes, it is majority.
And something informs that, doesn't it?
Yes, the Gazette notice from the IBC is enough.
Exactly.
Is enough.
The Gazette notice is a form of documentation, is it not?
Yes.
And this is what I'm saying.
Yes.
And not just, actually, it's not what I'm saying.
Yes.
It's what the court is saying.
Yes.
That documentation was required to be presented at the time of that declaration, and it did not happen. Now, based on the fact that did not happen, we have no option but to say that this process was flawed. And by virtue of that, then it's nullified. I'll give you another example so that we can draw the parallel. In Kenya, in this country, there was a couple of gentlemen who were accused, charged before court. About to be found guilty of a capital offense of rape. You know what happened? On the charge witness sheet, it was not signed by an officer. You know what? Those two gentlemen were acquitted. On a process issue. The court came out and said, on this process issue, because these are the requirements that we have, they were not followed. And we cannot now hold these two gentlemen because this process was not complete. It's the same principle. And it is not that the numbers were less or more. It is not that there were 300 people. It's not that somebody whispered into the ears of one Moses Wetangula. No, it is that documentation, according to the Constitution, was required. It was not presented. And by virtue of that, we say, no.
I think that is the wrong thing to look at.
But that's what the court said.
That is why the court is wrong. And that is why that ruling by the court will be challenged. And that is why we have an appellate process in this country.
All right.
Because it's not every time that what the judge says is correct. And that is why we have a lower court, a higher court, and an apex court.
Right.
And we have that process. And as Parliament and as the Speaker will appeal. And another bench of judges, probably a 5 five-judge bench will sit to determine whether, and we have had in this country where decisions of a three-court bench has been thrown away. We have that process. And therefore, what a lower court says cannot be gospel truth because we have an appellate process in this country.
A lower court.
Yes.
Actually, it is gospel truth until a higher court renders.
So it remains.
Yes.
So,
And therefore,
so it cannot be even stated that it is a suggestion.
Yes.
The ruling stays. It's not complicated.
Yes.
Once it is pronounced, that is it. Until a higher court has
an
And I
alternative.
think Parliament has taken that within its stride, and Parliament has gone to court has filed an appeal as I speak to you. It has filed an appeal to challenge that decision.
So
because
then can I ask
it erred in facts. In fact, one of the things that is a problem
You know, you keep insisting that
It's an error?
the court made an error.
Yes.
The error cannot be determined by parliamentarians. The error will be determined by a higher court, not by you or members of parliament. It is not you to pronounce and decide that the court has made an error.
Which I agree with you completely, Siti.
Yes.
What I'm saying is this. The High Court made a ruling, and it is within the purview of the High Court actually to, I think, Article 135 there of the Constitution that gives the Higher Court, the High Court actually an opportunity to look at decisions of Parliament. And that's why sometimes you have a law that has been thrown out by a court. Sometimes you make a decision in Parliament and a court reviews that decision. It is there in law. It is there actually in the Constitution that the High Court is given power to review some of the decisions in the area. But it does not mean because it was a three-judge bench, they made the correct determination. And what I'm saying is, and I want you to separate what I'm talking about and what you're saying. Yes, court made a decision which we respected.
Did you?
Actually,
Yes,
you don't.
which we respect. I want to be very clear. Which we respected.
Which you, Owen Bayer, respected, or
the Speaker respected that decision, and that is why he came back to Parliament to say, in fact, when we met on that day when we opened Parliament for this session, the Speaker said, as of now, there's no majority, there's no minority, because the court has determined so. Okay, and actually the plaques, the placards that pronounce this is majority side and this is minority side. Let me make a point.
I want to just bring in something. When the Speaker said the court did not give a clear directive on who is the majority and the minority, so where are you coming from with?
No, I'm saying at that particular time, the Speaker said because the court did not give a direction on who is majority, who is not minority at that particular time. At that particular time, when you sat the first day, there was no majority, there was no minority. And actually the Speaker said, okay, let me give members of Parliament to ventilate on this matter. Okay, and he gave that opportunity, and we went on and on and on. But the following day, the Speaker came and said, I have a ruling to make based on the court decision. That was actually respecting the court decision. I have a ruling to make. As it is now, because when that decision was made, the Deputy Speaker wrote to the Registrar of Political Parties to tell to respond to the question who is minority and who is majority as of that particular time, that is in February. And the Registrar of Political Parties wrote to Parliament and said, as it is today, these are the numbers as they are in Parliament. And the Speaker actually made the decision of who is majority, who is minority, based on what came from the Registrar of Political Parties. And I want you to get away this notion out of your mind that there is a process other than the process of Parliament to determine who is majority, who is not minority. The process of Parliament.
Yes.
Because the Parliament, today, if we are elected, and I want, what brings complications?
Why did that matter go to court if
you should have just
Parliament has the purview of determining this thing, as you say?
And that is what the law is. The Speaker has the purview to determine who is majority, who is not minority.
Within particular requirements. It's not just go ahead and do what you want. That's why a constitution exists. That even as you do have the power to do certain things, that you must do so within certain requirements. That there's certain elements of a process. If we want to make yogurt, which I'm going to give you later, for example, and we want to say that you are using milk, will you bypass a certain process? If you do, you don't get yogurt. You get something totally different. And that's what the court was saying, that there's certain elements of a process which you must abide by. And if those elements are not, if you don't abide by the elements of that process, it makes the entire thing constitutional.
I entirely want to agree with you on that, and I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you on one thing. Give us the process.
Of making yogurt?
No.
I'm joking.
Give us the process of determining.
Okay, let me give you
Give us the process.
Let me give you the process.
Yes, give us the process.
You see, let's start with how it is you form coalitions.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
There's an agreement that is agreed upon by those who are getting into this coalition.
Yes. Okay.
Usually within it,
yes,
there are tenets for the solution.
Yes.
Okay? Now, if you want to move away, which is now dissolving yourself, a notice of withdrawal must be sent to the coalition council. Okay?
Yes.
Upon resignation, the party must notify ORDP within 7 days. That's number one.
Yes.
Now, the members cannot, at the same time of withdrawal, immediately join another coalition. I'm just reading what it says, okay? And then all parties concerned in that coalition must agree.
Oh, yes.
Must what?
For this action that's going to be taken.
No, I'm listening. I'm listening.
The process.
Yes. Once they have agreed, then letters will be written at that particular point in time. Remember, the majority we are speaking of was not this one we currently have. It's when it was first formed. That was what was taken to court.
2022.
That's when it was taken to court.
Yes.
Okay? So the decision that was made then. It means somewhere along the line, some of these things were not followed. But what Mheshimiwa is saying is they have now been followed as we speak.
After the fact.
Yes. The decisions and the process that was supposed to be followed have now been followed. But as you say correctly, after the fact.
Now, I want to say this so that we clear the doubts. That, you see, that process is purely a process of the registrar of political parties. Okay. It is not a parliamentary process. Completely. It does not involve parliament anywhere. Parliament will be a consumer of that information if parliament requests for that information. If parliament does not request for that information, it just becomes information the registrar of political parties for newspapers and media houses to talk about.
Form coalition parties?
Parliament does not form coalition
parties. And the coalition parties and the majority and the minority is what we're discussing here.
Yes.
So we cannot dismiss the office of the registrar of political parties as though they're a non-entity whose participation is not important. Without it, you cannot have these coalitions.
Especially because as a result of the process that these registrar of political parties goes through, that end result information is vital to the next decision that you will make.
And I just want you to clarify.
A small question.
Yes.
Because you see, we are going around something that is for me, is a very mundane thing.
Okay.
You know, when does Parliament require that information? Only when there's a dispute. Only when there's a dispute. That is when Parliament requires information from the registrar of political parties. Because Parliament is an independent arm of government. And the decisions of Parliament are quasi-judicial. And Parliament can make its decisions unless there's a dispute. The dispute here that the court actually went into to make a ruling was, at that particular time, was who is the majority? Because there was a dispute on the 5 political parties.
Mheshimiwa, how did Parliament determine who was the majority and who was the minority?
And I want to bring this in. There's something I really want to bring in here.
You seem to have a
parliamentary practices
on that you may not have information on.
Honorable bias.
Have I made a statement or asked a question?
Let's ask the question and have that answer.
Yes, because I want to be very clear.
Yes.
One, Parliament is a quasi-judicial institution. And the Parliament makes determination on matters that are within its purview, that are matters of Parliament. One, the determination on whether this is majority or this is minority is the job of the Speaker. Okay. It's the job of the Speaker, not any other person. The Speaker, when he is in doubt about certain information, that is why he will seek information from another institution. But if he is not in doubt of certain information, he will make a pronouncement. And that is what Speaker Wetangula did. The only question here that arose was there was a dispute on the 5 political parties. And that is the only thing. Otherwise, Parliament can be formed, majority can be declared, and minority can be declared without any reference to any other institution, depending on the members, until when you have a dispute.
Allow me to bring
Go
in
ahead.
something.
Go ahead. The question.
Because this parliamentary conversation did not just start this year.
Yes.
You realize that this even took Azimio to the streets, saying do not interfere with political parties. And this was actually directed to the ruling party, Kenya Kwanza.
Yeah.
That's when all this conflict started. You're buying off parties, that's quote unquote, that's what they were saying. And then we had shifting allegiance that also followed. And Mheshimiwa, you just spoke here and said people know which parties they belong to. And that's where I need clarity, because there is a process, and I think that's what my colleagues are trying to say, of shifting allegiance. You just don't cross the floor and then we know you belong to a certain party. And this is where the majority and minority confusion would come. You just cross over and say, well, I am, like Junet said, I am majority leader. I love the warmth of this seat. You know, it had to come with something. And that's what we're interrogating. You cannot assume that, okay, I as Owen Bayer wants to join ODM, so you cross over. There has to be a process, and that is where this particular conversation arose from. And as much as you're saying that the speaker gets to actually declare majority and minority, he is informed by the, you know, all these shifts that are happening. Now, as far as this is concerned, all right, there have been arguments around parliamentary practices, all right, vis-a-vis the court order. And that's where I want to bring you to. I've been trying to bring this question to you. Which one is superior? We have the Constitution and this said parliamentary practices vis-a-vis the Constitution and the judgment by the court.
Let me say this so that for the benefit of everybody. One, nothing unconstitutional can be allowed in Parliament.
Okay.
Nothing unconstitutional can be allowed in Parliament. Even today, if I took a motion to Parliament, the first vet will be, is it constitutional? Is it within the Constitution? If it is not, it will be struck out on that basis. So the Speaker will make his ruling and his decisions based first on the Constitution, then secondly on the standing orders. That is what happens in Parliament. First on the Constitution and secondly on the standing orders, and then probably other rules and regulations and other subsidiary legislations. Okay, so that is how Parliament works, and therefore the Constitution is supreme in anything and everything that happens in Parliament, and decisions that are made by the Speaker must be constitutional. Okay. Then statutes. Okay. And one of the statutes that will be looked at when a decision is made, especially on the majority and minority, is the Political Parties Act. And then thirdly, you look at the standing orders. That is the precedence within Parliament in terms of the statutes or the laws that we have.
Okay.
Yes.
I think, and I think there might be one or two, or maybe even three or four who would agree with me that the Constitution is supreme and it ends there.
Yes.
So the question that I would like to ask thereafter, the court also did make other pronouncements about the dual role that the Speaker is in as the Speaker of the National Assembly, as essentially the third in command, as well as party leader. And the court said, well, you've got to pick one. Should he step down as Speaker?
I don't think so, although it also depends on his conscience as a Speaker, because the Constitution in its many articles has not barred a Speaker from being head of a political party. Just like the President, he still remains the party leader of
President.
Mheshimiwa, the President doesn't have the role that the Speaker.
No, I want to come back to that.
Yes.
Allow me to explain.
Allow
me to explain. The Constitution does not bar the Speaker. And actually, the court was very clear on that. It said that because of the fact that the Speaker is still the leader of Fort Kenya and still Speaker, he may be conflicted. Maybe conflicted.
Impartial.
Okay. And that is why there was no ruling that the Speaker must vacate his position as leader of political party of Fort Kenya or as Speaker. There was no ruling on that. Actually, that is an observation by the court. It was an observation of the court that because the Speaker is the Speaker and at the same time the leader of Fort Kenya, he may be conflicted in his rulings and his judgments. That is what the court said. But the court did not make a ruling on the fact that Speaker Wetangula vacates his position.
True.
It did not.
That is absolutely true.
And therefore, it is his conscience.
All right.
It is his conscience. And the Speaker made a pronouncement that he, as Speaker and as a senior lawyer,
does not vote.
He does not debate. He does not vote.
He just presides.
He presides. And therefore, according to him, he may not be conflicted in his decision he will not be conflicted in his decision, and he'll be a neutral arbiter in Parliament.
There's something called precedence, Mheshimiwa.
Yes.
We've had people who have been speakers, who have been members of Parliament.
Yes.
And the practice has been that one is this or the other, the practice.
Yes.
But you are right in what you say.
Yes.
Yes. So if we're to say that we are adhering by the rule of law, yes, the speaker can be speaker and he can be
leader of a political party.
Yes.
There's not in any way, and there's no law that bars Speaker Wetangula from becoming both the speaker and the leader.
So you don't think he should step down?
Okay.
I don't think he should.
Does it make a difference if he's out with the president, looking like he is pretty much siding with the president in the Western region, speaking like he speaks? Is it then okay as a politician? We do know that there's also a way he got in as being a speaker. There's a lot of events around Kenya Kwanza, arrangement. Look at those two things, how he got to be speaker and what he's doing recently. Does it conflict his position?
Let me tell you, gentlemen and ladies, this fact.
Yes.
How is a speaker elected? A speaker is elected when he actually gets sponsored. By what? By a political party. Speaker Mturi was a Jubilee nominee for the seat of the speaker.
Yes.
Okay. Speaker Ekwe Ithuro, when he was in Senate, was a candidate of the Jubilee Party. Even in the United States, the Speaker Pelosi that particular time was from the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Okay. And he has a political affiliation. And therefore, the Speaker is a politician, and you cannot take away his political rights from as envisaged in the Constitution. He has political rights. And therefore, to come and say that Speaker Wetangula should vacate his position because he might become that is taking away his constitutional rights. Yes.
All right. Well, I mean, it's the hope and the desire of many that it would be the Constitution and conscience that would guide when any of these decisions are being made.
The
so thank you for being
took
here.
An oath.
Asante
Of being,
I hear you. And I want to say thank you for being here this morning. And Member of Parliament for Kilifi North, Owen Maya, has been our guest this hour. We don't want you to go empty-handed, as you continue to go ahead in the issues of representation. Delamere Yogurt wants you to have those moments. And this is strawberry yogurt, which CT is going to give you. And it has actual real pieces of strawberry fruit, so that when you take a break from, hot conversations like this, when you've been in the hot seat, you can actually have that moment. So thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Have your moments with Delamere. Good morning, everybody. It's 8 a.m.
Dental tips brought to you by